What form will the Donald take next time? Let me start this segment by saying that as an organization, we're focused on COVID economic stimulus and relief. But today's show, I want to take today's show and kind of focus on something that doesn't exactly have to do with our targeted subject matter, but it's pretty important because Trump was the first president in modern history to boycott his successor's inauguration. So, again, today's show is not, if you're coming to today's show looking for me to talk about, either an executive order. Well, I did talk about that Friday, so if you missed that, go ahead and check it out. The executive order that seeks to speed up our next stimulus payments. Or if you want information about stimulus, today is not that type of show. I'm sorry, check back on Wednesday. But so, anywho, when ex-President Trump, when he was leaving for Mar-a-Lago, he said, and I'm quoting here, "Goodbye, we love you. We will be back in some form." Am I the only person who thought that was kind of ominous? Am I the only person who was like, "Oh, some form," like just kind of, maybe you envision like the Loch Ness monster or something, and you're like, what the heck is this dude talking about, right? Like, what did he mean when he said he would be back in some form? Now, before we can even kind of tackle that question, one of the first things that I think is kind of the most important thing to acknowledge here is Trump's legacy, right? I think it's without question. I think it's without saying that the legacy that Trump left behind, or that he created for himself, rather, was one of an incitement of an insurrection at our nation's capital, And so when you consider that fact, you have to ask the question, like, what legitimate options does the Donald even have when it comes to trying to make this comeback? Is it even possible for him to make this type of a comeback? And quite frankly, will anyone even care if he tries to come back? To that, I would say to you, as my mom would say, don't fool yourself. There are absolutely people who will care about him trying to make a comeback, and not only people who would care, but people who would willingly support a comeback. And so I really want, as many people are in the camp, myself included, the camp of, being happy that we're like moving back into a situation where we have like an actual president who's looking to govern, who's right. Like, even if you're in that boat, even if you are a supporter of now President Biden and Vice President Harris, do not fool yourself into thinking that while there were more supporters of the Biden-Harris administration or the Biden-Harris ticket, that it completely wipes away the people who cared about or supported the Donald. There are plenty of people who, the inauguration of Biden, of President Biden, did not like make these people disappear. Like, we are still facing a clear and present danger with not just people who care, but supporters of Donald Trump. And so, I don't know if you caught this. Trump, he went to the Texas border and he released this video. And on this video, he pledged to his supporters, mind you, that, and I'm quoting here, it says, the movement we started is only just beginning. Again, what did he mean by this? Here we are in today's episode, and I'm presenting you with more questions than we have answers. That's kind of where a lot of people are with Trump at this point. Okay, we know he's gone, but what's the next move? Now, some people, they've speculated that Trump is going to like form this new political party. And I've kind of heard two names thrown around. I've heard the Patriot Party, which, historically is not a new party. We have had a party called the Patriot Party. Look that one up. And then there's been kind of mention of something called MAGA Party. Now, to the people who kind of throw that around. Now let me say this though. I am not I can't say unequivocally that people are saying this because they have some inside information that you or I don't have. Maybe they have talked to Donald and he told them, yo, I've got these plans and this is what I'm doing. But I'm just operating, when I say this, under the assumption that they have the same information that you and I have, and that they don't have like this inside tip with the Donald, right? So that said, when you kind of consider this hypothesis of a potential new party erected by Donald Trump, I think it's important to note that we're not talking about an ex-political figure who was kind of seeped into the the fabrics of a distant memory for a lot of Americans. For a lot of Americans, both his supporters and non-supporters, he is still an ever-present figure, which is kind of mind-boggling when you consider that, like, he's been banished from our modern forms or platforms of communication, right? Like, how is this man even still in our minds? But specifically for his supporters, like, he is still on the front of their minds. So you're not hypothesizing about some like disgruntled Republican who no one really gave a damn about, who they didn't pay attention to, who said, screw this, I don't have any pull in this party, so I'm going to go do my own thing. That's not what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with, hypothetically, is someone potentially creating this new political party who still retains an iron grip, this iron fist on his Republican base. It's like this man, he has loyal voters, voters that are, let me ask you this, for those of you who either voted for Joe Biden or considered it, would you have gone and stormed the Capitol on his behalf? Let that seep in to show you how loyal. Like, I really, maybe I'm wrong here, but I cannot, it does not come to my mind, if I try to recollect any Biden-Harris supporter who was so enthralled with furthering the political ideology of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that they were willing to go and put their freedom on the line by potentially going to jail. But now you could make the argument that, especially when you kind of look at how things have unfolded, that these people really didn't even think they'd go to jail because they'd had like this sense of entitlement that not only they assumed, but that had been playing out for them for years for a lot of people. But that's another subject for another day. But so he has like these loyal voters, and other Republicans know that, right? This is why, despite the fact that he's a former president, despite the fact that he attempted, he called for, he successfully played a part in starting this insurrection that we saw at the Capitol. This is why, even with that considered, you still have Republicans on many levels, federal levels, state levels, local levels, who in normal times would politically be trying to like distance themselves from that type of character to save their own political hide. But that's not the case now, because the base, the overall base for the Republican Party, supports the person who did this. And so on the flip side of that, though, you have some people who say, look, this man, he appears to be more powerless than ever. Like, his Twitter, which was like his megaphone, was taken away. He can't talk to anybody. He just has to sit and pout because online he's been put in social media jail. And then if you couple that with the fact that when they get the Senate trial started, he'll be forbidden from seeking a second term. He won't be able to get in public office again. Dude, he's powerless. Do you see how both sides are kind of thinking two completely different things? That said, let me tell you this. Nobody, as far as I'm concerned, nobody who was not on the inside, an insider with Donald Trump, nobody can tell you definitively what his next move is going to be. Okay. So it may be, especially, I don't know if you remember earlier on, remember the thing was he's going to start this media company. He's setting it up for a media company. And then now it's, he's going to come back and go for another. Everyone is kind of hypothesizing, myself included. But nobody knows definitively what Trump's next move will be. But one thing that we know for sure is this. He is going to turn completely on the Republican Party. That is who he is. And that's what he does. He has a track record of turning on people. And not even just turning, but like he turns on them, he devours them, and then he spits them out. That is who this man is, and that is what he does. So when you consider that, is he likely to start another party? Sounds likely to me. But then the logistics of that, when you consider what he actually could do, is that actually the smartest play? If you're looking to completely devour somebody, an organization that you feel turned on you, that you feel didn't support you, is that really the smartest move? Probably not. Let me tell you, I'm going to make a hypothesis here. Again, it's just a hypothesis. I'm not in with Trump. I can't say with certainty what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. But when I consider all the stuff that I've kind of laid out in front of you, and including some things that I didn't even mention during today's podcast, if Brittany was in the mind of Donald Trump, what I would tell you to prepare for, what I would tell America to prepare for, is for one of his children to take a run at politics. So then what does this mean for Trump? Because we know Trump and his ego, he's not just going to sit on the sidelines and let an untested one of his offspring, politically untested, go into this ring, a ring where he sees how they did the Donald. That's exactly why he's not going to sit on the sidelines. Trump, what he is going to do, in my mind, if I can kind of politically calculate based on what I know about this political figure, what he is going to do is he's going to have his children, at least one of his children, take a run at politics, and he's going to create the tools necessary for their success. He already has the minions in his pocket, that kind of loyal base that love him and they love his children. So that's like a super significant part of the equation. But the other missing part of that equation is media. Now, because you see, what was he doing with media towards the end? He called himself the golden goose or golden egg. He was golden in some way for Fox, and he talked about how they had forgot their golden goose or forgot their golden egg. Again, the exact quote does not come to mind. I apologize. But he turned, as is his pattern, he turned on the very organization that carried him to the political success that he had. I frankly, even with Twitter, he could not have made it as far as he did politically without Fox News. But he still turned on them. Without question, without hesitation. And he will do the same thing to this Republican base. They don't see it. And this is a man so full of ego. So with that ego, with the motivation to not just bite the heads off of these people, but chew it and spit it out and just utterly destroy it, He is going to be the necessary tool for the success of his children, at least one of them, politically. The Trump that will be making a run for political office, when he talked about in some form, will not be named Donald. Absolutely. Mark my words.